Hi guys, this is Kelly Cutzinger with Cleanly Consumed and Kelly Cutzinger Coaching. Today I had the opportunity to talk to Dena Norton with Back to the Book Nutrition, and our topic today was on anxiety. Anxiety is something that a lot of people struggle with, but we dive deep in understanding why and how to support it. So let's get started in talking to Back to the Book Nutrition. Thanks so much. Hi there, this is Kelly Cutzinger with Cleanly Consumed and Kelly Cutzinger Coaching. And today we have the pleasure of talking to Dina with Back to the Book Nutrition. So thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to talk about a very hot topic amongst women and men, but today's topic is anxiety.
Very popular.
So thank you so much for joining us. And Dina, let's just start with what is the genesis of your practice? What really motivated you and gave you the passion to become a practitioner and then have the specific interest of anxiety?
Yeah, well, I started my career years ago. I kind of had a first career and now I'm in my second career. So I was trained in the very traditional, university system, worked in a very traditional medical setting as a dietitian, and always had a heart, I think, for holistic care, cared about people deeply, wanted to help them as whole people and do more than just tell them what to eat through cancer treatment. That's kind of the area I worked in. So I had that heart then, but I didn't have some of the knowledge that I have now. So when I came home to start a family, I had a little bit of a break there from work, and then started my own business not long after that, which at the outset was really more of a healthy food blog, lots of good healthy recipes and kind of my philosophy on eating really real food and good nutrition. And then after having my second child and juggling the business, which a lot of women understand that juggling act, I went through a health crash of sorts. So what some would call adrenal fatigue, what we know in the functional medicine world as HPA axis dysfunction, and tied up in that was hormone issues, thyroid issues, and gut issues, and kind of the whole tangled web that lots of people are dealing with. And it was a hard crash, and it sent me to multiple different doctors and specialists, and I got a lot of shoulder shrugs and offers for medications, and everything looks fine, and maybe it's menopause, and lots of hemming and hawing and no real solutions. Meanwhile, things were really accelerating, heart palpitations and migraines, and really concerning to me. And so I was forced by those things to look outside of some of my more traditional training and still have a very healthy respect for the medical system, but in some of these deeper chronic root cause type of issues that we need answers to, I just find the system isn't really set up for that. So I didn't want symptom management. I wanted to know why it was happening. So I, began to scour the literature on my own and seek out people who are more holistic and had a more functional medicine slant, and was able to get to the root of it and fix it naturally with significant food shifts and lots of supplement support and good testing. And it took a while to kind of unwind all of that, as it does with lots of our clients now. It took me years looking back to really get in that situation. When I look at how I'd eaten and treated my body over years, it wasn't just that precipitating issue. So it took me some time, but I fully recovered. And I felt, I got myself back, which is, I think, the biggest fear for a lot of people that are deep in the ditch is like, will I ever be myself again? There's a lot of identity crisis wrapped up in that. So I was able to come out of that and come out the other side with a new, deeper appreciation for my body and health, and had a more nurturing mindset about it, and learned some things along the way, of course. And so then I was scouring and seeing all my friends are dealing with some level of this too. Lots of other women in my age and stage group having so much fatigue and stress and anxiety and all of these things. And I just had such a heart to help them now that I knew more about that and why it was happening. And so I began to incorporate that into the business, then started seeing people again as clients, which I hadn't done in several years. And it really reminded me that that's probably the favorite thing about being a dietitian for me, is sitting across from someone and helping them understand their body and empower them to know how to take good care of it for lasting health, not just to manage symptoms, not just to, have a menu plan that looks perfect. It's not about that. It's about nurturing this body we have and really promoting health. So I've loved getting back into that for the past 3-ish years and learning more and more as I go from each and every person I meet with. And so now I continue to operate the website, which has healthy recipes, but I share a whole lot of holistic nutrition, functional medicine type health articles, and then have a virtual practice as well. And I've currently enrolled in a functional medicine course to get more formal training to be able to help people more and more. So that's a little bit about the practice. And what I do.
That is amazing.
Aww,
really.
thanks.
That's like a heartfelt story. And I mean, I'm emotionally, that's just so exciting that you were able to peel back the layers and get to the root cause. And then, your testimony helps inspire other people, because I think women, part of anxiety is not feeling well, not feeling like yourself. And as you age, you kind of, that mid-stage life is a real thing, and having a little bit of identity shift after being a mom and having a business and having to take care of yourself and support yourself. So that it was so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
That was wonderful. And I can relate to a lot of that.
Sure. I think a lot of us have common threads in those stories and where it takes us. So.
I think a lot of women, when they meet with doctors and they go from one doctor to the next, they get to the point where they don't even want to tell the doctor that they have children, because they sometimes have so much more pressure as a mom than maybe generations before, not necessarily physically, because a lot of the convenience that might have gotten us into this mess in the first place. But we just have a lot of different pressures. Like, for example, when someone's trying to send you a message, well, did you send that via messenger, email, text, mail, an app, a group me app? I mean, it's so much to compartmentalize and organize. And it's just about wrapping it all together, and it takes time. It's not an Amazon Prime solution, in 2 days. And that's why I love connecting people to practitioners like yourself, because I'm really working with someone, coaching you guys and get everybody on the same page that functional medicine and regenerative really does help support your body to find the root cause. And then working with someone that's a good fit really is going to make you feel not only better, but you're going to be happier, and you might even feel, younger and more vibrant and youthful than you did before you started your journey. It is possible.
It is possible. You may be older, but you can be more vibrant and healthier.
Right. I mean, I've met a lot of people that once they've gotten their health back to a place that they never thought they could before, they say, I feel better than I did 10 years ago.
Yes, I hear it all the time. Yeah. And I think that once they get a better respect for and understanding of what feeling better means, right? It's not just the aching joints. It's not just the physical nagging things. It's that those are better, and I'm more connected to my, spirit and emotional health and mental health. And I see me as a whole valuable person, and I know how to better care for me as a whole person. I think there's a lot of growth that comes in that area too, that provides such purpose and satisfaction and total health.
Right. I think you have to learn how to be a whole person.
Yeah, for sure.
That is not, in the society that we live in, that is not a born ability.
Right. And in our medical system, it's really not a focus either. Unfortunately, I do think the tide is turning, but unfortunately, we go to get care and, it's whack-a-mole with symptoms. It's not caring for the person or understanding why things are happening. So people don't feel educated and empowered, and deeply changed. They feel managed. And sometimes they don't even feel managed, and they definitely usually don't feel heard. I mean, I've had people cry telling me how important it was just to be heard. We haven't even really done anything yet. It's huge. It's huge.
That is one of the layers.
It is.
And I do get a lot of comments from women, and because obviously I talk to women more than I talk to men. I have 3 boys in my house and a husband, but I talk to women more frequently about their health. And how common would you say anxiety is in general? I mean, I think my opinion is that it leads more towards women But what is your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, we know statistically it's more common in women. I think the stats are that 1 in 5 or so will experience anxiety of some sort at some point in their life. But I think, as you alluded to, there are these subsets of populations. And certainly I'm around women in my general age stage group. That's kind of my area. And women in this age stage group are prime for anxiety. And, I think certainly the women who come to me for coaching generally have been multiple other places and dealt with symptoms for years, and they're pretty thick in the weeds, and so they are, I would say better than half of them report some type and amount of anxiety on a regular basis. So it's big, and I think it's growing.
Unfortunately, and I don't think that it's something that I think it's ongoing. I don't think you get a handle on it. I think you learn how to have strategies and manage it. But, life does happen. And whether you have a sickness of your own or someone else, or heading into those teenage years, or just different things in life that happen, but having the resources and the tools available to support your body ahead of time and during and then recovery after are key.
It's huge. Yeah.
What have you seen, any kind of, I'm so sorry. Have you ever seen healthy anxiety levels increase since you've been practicing? So I know that this part of your practice is growing, and it might be a little premature to kind of see a trend, but I think a lot of women don't realize how many women struggle with it. So I didn't know if you saw any trends within the area of anxiety.
Yeah, I don't know if I've been doing this work long enough to see trends. What I do think is happening based on talking with women and seeing what's out there online and in social media and everything is that I think that this just acknowledging it and feeling not alone is bringing more of it out, even in people who've dealt with it silently for a long time. Giving it a name and giving the symptoms recognition really helps women to understand how to connect those dots, because anxiety does not manifest in the same ways in everyone. Some people really do manifest only 2 or 3 symptoms, and they're not the most common ones. Other people have the whole gamut, and it can look a little different from person to person. But sometimes just knowing that other people are struggling gives you freedom to say, me too, so I think that there's definitely that trend out there. Women are much more free and quick to say, I deal with anxiety.
Right. And I admire that.
Describing all around it. Yeah.
I admire when they say that, and it's comforting, and they don't feel like they have to keep it all in and keep it together. And it helps you bond with other women, and that helps you not be as isolated. So
I think mental health in general, that isolation piece, anything you can do to break down that isolation is definitely a step in the right direction.
Right. I mean, you have to make that effort, but we are all aging. We are all going through a lot of the same life changes. So what are 3 immediate changes that one can alter and change in their lifestyle? I know we don't see necessarily immediate results, but I know that there's some changes that you would recommend for people to start seeing results, because that's encouraging for them to see them, some results you can get fairly quickly.
Right.
So what are 3 that you would recommend?
Right. Yeah. And, with a functional medicine view, we're always trying to both give relief right off to help people, but also always asking what's the root cause? Why is it happening? Let's address and fix that for long term. So we're trying to do both of those, right? But I think some of the first, lowest hanging fruit, which with anxiety, there's a lot of it, which is really exciting because you can get change and improvement fast. And really, I always tell people this is ironic because I'm a dietitian and I'm supposed to tell you what to eat and what not to eat, but that's really lower on the list, in my opinion, when it comes to anxiety. So it's there, but it's lower. So I really think some of the first things that need to be done are prioritizing sleep, stress management. Those are really, really the biggies. And, with stress management, we give a lot of lip service to that, but it's something I talk about with every single client, because every single one of us is juggling so much, and our physical bodies are, less nourished, less slept, all these things that decrease our ability to manage stress, and then our stress levels high. So we have this really significant mismatch. And I think with anxiety, many times it is so tied up in the HPA stress axis and how our body physically reacts to stress. There's a lot of physical manifestation that triggers anxiety. And so I think really hitting that hard, that stress management piece. So I have a 3-step guide to stress management that I use at some point with almost every client, and it's free on my website. If you go there, it'll pop up and offer it to you.
I'll put a
But
link
it's
for that.
just, yeah, I would love that, because it's such a tangible, you know, it's a printable. I'm a print person. You could do it PDF on your screen if you want, but I like printing things out, and it just walks you through defining stress and helping you outline, these are my personal stressors. Let me really, evaluate in my life what brings stress to me. And then here's a menu of ways to manage stress. And then I'm going to commit to daily and weekly doing these things for a month and just see, and it kind of forces you to make those commitments. But some of the things I find most beneficial when we're talking about how to do that are 4-7-8 breathing, to really nudge the body out of fight or flight and toward rest and digest. So I find that having people do that morning, noon, and night. Sometimes I'll have people do it before they eat as well to promote digestion when we're eating, but morning, noon, and night. And then any other time you're feeling that sort of swell of anxiety coming up, to stop. And if you can remove yourself from the room and then quietly do 5 or so cycles of 4-7-8 breathing, it makes a huge difference to calm that physical anxiety that's kind of mounting. So stress management, 4-7-8 breathing is one of my favorite techniques, but there are lots of them. Gratitude journaling, and designating 30 minutes a day for you, and the things that really restore you and renew your strength and mood and make you feel rested and cared for. If that's Epsom salt baths or prayer or journaling or reading a book or whatever it is, really blocking that time out and valuing it to nourish yourself as a whole person. So things like that, when we're talking about managing stress, little tips and tools to begin to implement in a practical way are so huge. I mean, I just meet with so many women who have zero personal time, who don't value that because there are so many demands and they want to serve and help so many people. And we really have to have the hard discussion of like, you are deep in a ditch. And right now you are one of those people. So you really need to pull back where you can and picture yourself as that dear friend who's in need, or that child who's sick. And you need that kind of care. You need that kind of devotion to yourself for a little while to get you out of this ditch, So
it's like a low battery. It's a battery.
It's exactly like that. Yeah.
You can't give full energy to something that requires full energy if you are so depleted. You're not doing anyone a service.
Right. So I think just pulling back and prioritizing those things, and then sleep, I mean, I tell people all the time, I think if I could like wave a wand and have everybody sleep 8 hours a day, so many clients would drop off because their symptoms would be, so much better. Maybe not fixing every root issue, but sleep makes everything better, or it makes everything worse, one or the other. So really prioritizing sleep and aiming for 8 hours of good sleep every night in a dark environment, and all those sleep habits we know we need are super important. So I think stress management and sleep are really top of the list. We have to work on those right off the bat. And then, balancing blood sugar, I think when you're talking about food, is a big, easy target. I mean, a lot of people are just grazing throughout the day or eating heavy carb foods and not a lot of protein and fat and things that stabilize blood sugar. And we know that peaks and valleys in blood sugar relate to peaks and valleys in cortisol and relate to peaks and valleys in mood. So it's all tied up there. So something as simple as, eating at regular times and eating real food and having protein with everything you eat is a simple first step that can really help a lot of people. And I think that, there's some, maybe we'll talk about supplements later, but those are easy targets as well. I just see so many, people benefit from having a little extra supplement support as a go-to. And then I think also, it's not my area, but I think I'd be doing a disservice to not mention the role of really good counseling, so many people are dealing with past and present trauma and just significant needs. I mean, I just think being aware of everything that happens at the far corners of the world, I mean, it's a lot to process through and feel the, feel the weight of everything that happens in the world, both at home and afar. And we do, because of social media. We're so connected.
Well, that's
to
what I was going to
everyone's
say.
needs. It's a wonderful thing, but it's a burden. And I think there are some temperaments and types of people who carry that burden more heavily. I'm actually not one of those, and I don't struggle with anxiety myself, but I know people personally. I meet with plenty of clients who are feelers, and it's such a beautiful thing.
Which is a gift.
It is a gift, but it can be a heavy weight for them to carry. And I think sometimes getting really good counseling is just so helpful to.
There's a gal that I'll be
things.
interviewing hopefully next week or in the coming weeks, and she's a psychotherapist and has a functional medicine approach. So she would be a great contact to put within the descriptions below when I get that, so that people have that online resource. Of course, if they're in their state, but if not, we can help people find somebody out of their state that would be a good connection for them.
Yeah, that area is a resource I'm always looking for, because it seems so rare to find people who have that training but are root cause minded. So yeah, I want that resource for clients to point them to. But I think sometimes just our go, and that's part of that carving out time for yourself. It doesn't allow for time to really process what's going on and what we're feeling about it, to really focus on those things and sort through them mentally and deal with them. So counseling can be a good avenue for that.
That's a huge piece. And there are some online counseling agencies that, some people feel like, it's too expensive for them, or they don't have time in their day to do that. And things that you thought would never be online are available online.
Yeah, that's great.
There are some people that, are able to practice like you, distance wise.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on genetic testing? I did just do a video on genetic testing, and there's a company that I like to refer to that's a private genetic testing company. Because you don't need to have stress and anxiety getting your genetic profile done, and you don't want to focus too much on it. So you want a practitioner that knows how to really read those, or a testing center that really gives supporting documents so that it doesn't cause more anxiety. But what are your thoughts on genetic dispositions?
Yeah, I think clearly in the literature, genetic SNPs are linked to mood disorders, including anxiety. So we know there's something there. I don't pretend to be an expert in genetics, and I honestly don't run gene testing on clients, though some of them come to me having had it done elsewhere. And I find that, I think with Ben Lynch's work and just so much attention to it, which has been, I think, a net positive for sure. But I think that we've gotten to this place where there's almost this tendency to over focus on it. Whereas I think it's a fine tuning tool. It's a good thing to look into for people who aren't getting the results you would expect from some of the first layers. So, we know that MTHFR and COMT and some of these others are definitely players. My approach, because it's not my area of expertise, I kind of loosely assume that most people dealing with anxiety probably have a SNP or two. And we're going to use methylated forms of B vitamins, and we're going to be mindful of over-methylating, and we're going to keep in mind detox capabilities. We're going to kind of keep these things loosely in mind and proceed with what we know works for most people. And then if we have signals along the way that there's really something mismatched here or some deeper issue, maybe genetically, okay, then we might pause and consider some testing. But it's not something I do a lot with directly. Just because I find that we get so many results from food, lifestyle, and supplements, and maybe some other types of testing first, that I don't often get to the point where I feel like I need that. I've had a client. I have one client in particular who came to me with significant anxiety, multiple meds, lots and lots of pieces in the puzzle of her anxiety and the history of her anxiety. And one of her first things to me was, well, I have MTHFR, so I can't take this, and I can't do that, and I can't. She had already mentally marked off for herself what her body couldn't do, what she couldn't have access to because she has MTHFR. People think it's some detrimental gene mutation, it's like, it's just a SNP, it can be important, but let's keep it in its place and address it when we need to, if we have to.
I think that it's a great resource. It's a great tool to use. I think that if you go back to the beginning of our chat today, we talked about becoming more in tune with your own body. So it's great. You can focus on what your body and how it's reacting positively to things.
Right.
And then I think some people that wear those labels of MTHFR, and Ben Lynch is like the guru on
Right.
MTHFR, and I can put his link down below. But I feel like people don't think about and give weight to the epigenetics part of it,
Right.
where if you
Right.
support your body with food, sleep, stress management, and perhaps if you needed to, you could do some micronutrient testing to find out how to support your body, and you can silence those expressions of those genes.
Right.
So it's not a lifelong battle.
No. Yeah.
It's preventative. It's a tool, and so it's a great resource. But yes, I get very that can cause anxiety.
Yeah, I've even heard Ben Lynch say in an interview in the last several months, you know, he didn't say he regretted bringing such attention to it, but he was kind of like, I don't even talk about it anymore because it's blown up so much that it's become this primary focus for a lot of people when we, you know, at the expense sometimes of the more important things. So I think it just needs to be ordered, you know, in the right importance, basically. Yeah.
There are shirts that are made that have MTHFR on them. So.
No kidding. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so how important is diet for anxiety? We did talk about that a little bit, about blood sugar imbalances and making sure you're eating a healthy diet and staying on track. But dietary triggers, I wanted to touch a little bit on that. Things that are in not everybody's, that are in a lot of our diet today that people just don't think might have a attachment to trigger anxiety.
Yeah, well, I think diet's important for everyone with anxiety, but it's really important for some people. And it really comes back to what's the root cause, which in other areas of health, we're doing the same thing in a functional medicine lens. It's asking why it's happening to you, not why it happens in general even, but why is it happening to you? You know, do you have significant blood sugar imbalance issues? We need to straighten that out and then reassess, you know, that take care of the whole problem, or is there more to look at? You know, do you have micronutrient deficiencies that are driving your anxiety into the ground? You know, do you have food triggers that are causing immune reactions and inflammation? That certainly triggers anxiety and other mood disorders. So I think some of it comes with peeling back those layers, but I think some of the basic things, like we talked about, blood sugar imbalance, absolutely. I think that people who struggle significantly, most of them would benefit from a 30 to 60 day elimination with reintroduction after that of kind of the biggies, you know, gluten, dairy, corn, soy, you know, those sorts of things to just see. I mean, some people have lived with symptoms for so long that they're numb to the symptoms. They don't even know how many things are out of whack in their bodies. And then you pull back certain foods for 30 to 60 days, and all of a sudden they're like, my joints stopped hurting. And I didn't even realize they were achy. I just thought that was normal because I've lived with it for so long. So I think sometimes that's a good exploratory thing, just to remove for a short time some foods that could be potential immune triggers, and then introduce them one at a time. As I always explain, that is like a double check. We're pretty sure when you pull them out, you got better in certain ways, but then when we add them in one at a time, we can double check. Is it the dairy for me? Is it the soy for me? You know, what is it for me? Or does it seem to be all those things? So I think that there are triggers that are more likely. You know, we know that some components of milk, we know that gluten for a lot of people, we know some of these triggers that have been linked to anxiety and mood disorders in the literature are an issue. But personalizing it in that way, I think, is a good first step. And then down the line, there could be food sensitivity testing if needed. But I kind of view that as a down the line fine-tuning thing.
I am a fan of if people are set on doing carbs and breads and things like that. Obviously doing like an organic sprouted type, make sure that it is does not have glyphosate, which pokes holes in our gut lining. There's a great bread company, and I'll put the link below for that I personally order my fermented sourdough bread from.
Who's that?
I do not bake that in my own home.
I know, I went through that phase years ago. I'm like, oh, too busy for that.
That is not my thing. And then I know milk, I know that, and when some people take these foods out of their everyday, they sleep better. So looking for those signs and paying attention to your body, that sleep and stress and your joints making noise, not making noise. Because they can make noise.
Oh yeah. Well, I think also what you put in, you know, so many people come and they think that they're eating healthfully. It's because they're buying gluten-free refined foods at the store and they're having vegetables with their dinner. But I think, you know, to really have a nutrient dense diet, you know, most of us could kind of do the like half veggie rule. Every time you eat, it's half vegetables. That's kind of a general easy thing to follow. I encourage, especially for anxiety, I mean, animal foods and seafood are really critical. They really are. I mean, they're the best absorbed source of multiple B vitamins, iron, zinc, so many things that help with anxiety, choline and egg yolks. So I encourage red meat at least twice a week from high quality sources, and seafood 2 to 4 times a week, and eggs as many days as you can have them. And those alone cover so many bases that are helpful to bring anxiety down. So it's about pulling out triggers, but I think it's also about shoving in as much nutrition as you possibly can.
Right.
What difference that makes, because a lot of people are just nutrient insufficient. I mean, not only because of their food choices, but soil depletion and stress drags on your nutrients, and different medications pull down nutrients, and poor gut health is going to limit how much you can absorb and use. So many things are pulling at nutrient status, and the whole body, including neurotransmitters and mood. I mean, it runs on nutrition. It just does. So if you're short, you're going to see it. So sometimes
you're going to feel short.
Boost. Yeah, you're going to feel short. So, and I think the other thing about that whole foods, reminder in the protein, we talk about blood sugar balance, but, the amino acids from proteins are what build neurotransmitters. And those are our, kind of toggles in our brain, uppers and downers, if you will, and if you have a diet that's very low in protein and not meeting your needs, then the neurotransmitters are going to be one of the first things to go, and they're not essential. They're not considered essential for the body, so it's not going to prioritize that. So it's important for that reason too, to get plenty of protein.
Totally agree. We did touch on slightly on gut health and maybe
huge.
malabsorption of the nutrients. So you could sometimes be taking the right supplements and maybe even eating right. But if your gut is in such dysbiosis, which means not having a healthy level of good and bad bacteria, it's working in harmony and it's working the way it should, and then you're not supporting that with good foods to feed those bacteria. So how does gut health really impact anxiety?
Oh my gosh.
I love that
you narrow this down. I know. And I mean, I address it with everyone because it's so paramount to every area of health. But yeah, we know that dysbiosis in general is linked to anxiety and other mood disorders in the literature. So we know that balance matters. Another reason to eat a lot of vegetables and include fermented vegetables. But the other thing is that, it's more widely known now, neurotransmitters are primarily made in the gut. So if your gut's not healthy, it's really hard for your brain to be healthy. It really is, from a nutrient standpoint, but also from just a frank, how much neurotransmitter are you making standpoint. So if that's, disadvantaged, then you're going to see it in your mood. Certainly pathogens and just dysbiosis itself can increase inflammation in the gut. That wears away the gut lining. Some food triggers, gluten for some people who are sensitive, other foods, if you're having food immune reactions, those are going to inflame the gut and wear away the gut lining. And now all of a sudden we're in the process of leaky gut. Now, too many things are leaking through the gut, re-entering circulation, and causing, sort of an excited, overreactive immune system, and that can trigger anxiety. So drugs that we take, medications, many of them affect gut health, and that's going to in turn affect anxiety, and in turn, gut health can affect medication metabolism. So it's really a hit it from all sides thing with gut health. I mean, anxiety is very tightly correlated to gut health.
I think we're probably seeing a pattern here that it's not just one thing, it's several things all working together to help, heal and support your body through.
Yeah, I mean, that's whole health. Yeah, it's never just one thing. Or I don't see people where it's one thing.
No, that would be nice.
Ever.
I think that's too quick of a fix. It took us a while. It took people a while to get to that point. And I know, not to go too long, but dealing with anxiety and shifts in age, like we talked about teens and empty nest and aging parents and other stresses, just being really cognizant of those and supporting your body, being cognizant as those changes are approaching, and then not trying to deal with it after the fact. So being proactive.
Yeah. I think for women, especially, which I'm a woman and I meet with mostly women, so I feel most comfortable addressing that. But I think in my mind, from what I see with my clients, are like these two major shifts in life that really push on anxiety. And one is kind of this earlier stage of family and motherhood, and maybe your spouse is busy working and traveling and building the career, and you're juggling home and work and all these things. And that juggling act is like I said before, it's just a mismatch. There's just too much going on for your physical body to handle. And that really sets people up for HPA axis dysfunction, which can cycle anxiety as part of that. And that's a big, seems like a big time when anxiety can manifest. And then the other one is almost like the other end of the spectrum, as women are, moving through the end of the 30s and going through the 40s and that menopausal march. We're not there yet, but hormones just naturally, progesterone is just declining. That's just the way God made us at that stage of life. That's what happens. And it's really hard to have a stable mood when that's happening. And then for women who were going into that already with a little bit of estrogen excess for whatever reason, are feeling that much, much harder. And then if they go further down that timeline and actually transition to menopause and the ovaries are passing the baton to the adrenals, like, we're out, you're in charge of hormone production from here. If those adrenals have been, rode hard and put up wet for years, managing chronic stress and not sleeping enough and not self-caring enough, that's a rough ride. That transition is rough.
Does not
they have
sound
a really
desirable.
hard time. No. So it's not sexy to tell someone in their 30s, like, listen, if you don't want to be miserable, in 15 years, then you got to stress manage today, and you have to sleep and you have to care for yourself.
Right.
But that's the truth of it. It really is a front end investment, and there are rescue remedies. But the best way to feel good through all those transitions is to prioritize self-care and stress management and sleep and good nutrition.
Right. Well, I know in your practice, so for those that have never used a dietitian or, guidance like that, you offer, a kind of a get to know you session
I do,
to see if it's a good fit.
Yeah.
And, that the fact that you are available, distance is amazing and great. And then I want to make sure I include some of this information down below, so that people know how to get in touch with you.
Thanks.
And you are on, if I am correct, you are on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest.
Yeah,
So,
I mostly hang out on Instagram, and some of it pops over to Facebook.
Yeah, good. So I will make sure that I put your handles for those down below as well, so people can connect. And then also, I'm going to get some information from you about how they can get your free step guide to stress management on your site. And then also the supplements that you might recommend, and maybe we can direct them back to you to see what supplements they could get started with as they're getting to know you and going through some coaching.
Yeah, I do offer those free 10-minute discovery calls, and that's a great way to kind of share with me what you're dealing with. I'll tell you straight up, can I help, how, or not. There have definitely been a couple of people along the way that I said, you know what, I think you would be better served looking to this person or to this kind of care, and I'm not interested in getting everybody on schedule. I'm interested in helping the people I can help.
Right.
So that's a great way to see if we're a good fit, but also just to have me evaluate and say, like, I can help this, and here's how. And then, I have a few posts on the site that are specific to anxiety, some overlooked root causes, some natural approaches. And then I recently put out, because it's just been such an astounding win with so many clients with anxiety, a post with my top 2 supplements for anxiety, because they just seem to help almost everybody. It's like magic. More than one person has told me it's like magic. I can't even believe how life-changing it is.
Well, that's the feedback and the testimonials that you need to help encourage other people. So you said that was in a blog post?
Yeah, and in short, they're both GABA based. One is a capsule form with L-theanine and GABA, and then it has some calming herbs, ashwagandha, passion flower, and valerian, kind of all one package.
Wow, I love all those.
I know, it's like all the heavy hitters. So that's called Calm Complex. I sell that through my own supplement shop, and that's a good daily dose for people, or sometimes people who really struggle to wind down for sleep at night will take it just to aid sleep in the evenings. But then there's also this as needed kind of breakthrough product that's a liposomal pump, and there are a couple different brands that put one out. I really like the one by Quicksilver. So it's just GABA and L-theanine, liposomal GABA and L-theanine. So it's a pump product, and that liposomal delivery is just so fast. I mean, I have people who say that if they can sit down do that, do 4-7-8 in 10 to 15 minutes, they feel like they are brought down like several notches, and they can cope, they can move through the situation. They're calm, they're clear-headed, they're not sedated, but they feel a significant increase in calm. So that's a good as needed for situational things or for breakthrough, over and above the capsules, or for people who just in certain situations, it's the only time they ever feel anxiety. That could be a good product.
Right. And having that on
I
hand,
love them.
not necessarily like on your belt, but
Oh, I have women who are like, it's in the pocket of the purse everywhere they go.
But having it available for those moments.
Yes, it's super important. And, you know, I think ideally, again, with a functional medicine lens, we're trying to give you relief now, but we're always trying to solve the issue long term. And I mean, I've had more than one person who started out using these, like, you know, like security blankets. And, you know, I have one woman that no longer ever even orders the liposomal because she just takes a couple of the capsules at night. It really helps with sleep. She's decided that's going to be a maintenance thing for her for now.
Oh, great. Well,
but she doesn't have breakthrough.
Better.
Yes,
she's
she
sleeping
is.
better, so
she's
probably be able to manage that better. So that's a great testimonial.
Huge. It's huge. So yeah, supplements can really help.
Well, I will put the links down, as many as I can, and hopefully put the links for them to try those supplements through you. And I enjoyed this topic so much.
Yeah, it was great to talk. Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing all of that. And hopefully you guys can get in touch with Dina with Back to the Book Nutrition. And if you have any comments or questions, make sure you look at the links below to connect with either one of us. So thanks so much for joining us today. And thank you again, Dina.
Thanks, Kelly.
Bye for now. Now, I hope you enjoyed our chat today with Dena Norton with Back to the Book Nutrition. Our topic today was on anxiety, but if you didn't get a chance to take notes, don't be anxious. They're in the descriptions below. Please join us every week as we either get to know a practitioner or get to know a little bit more about how you can support your body through resources, therapies, and learning how to label read and being in charge of your own health. Thanks so much for watching. This is Kelly Cutzinger with Cleanly Consumed and Kelly Cutzinger Coaching. Thanks so much and have a great day, guys. Bye for now.